I believe I believe I can hear you. Debbie, can you hear me? It's in the chat. I don't know if that can be heard. I know we're both working here in the room.
Can you turn it up?
No, I'm not. If I turn that speaker on, we get feedback.
If we go on our phone, George, it won't make it do like it does if
Yeah.
2 people in the room with a Zoom.
Yeah, it'll start getting feedback.
So can you go outside and see if it's working like a person?
Well, I know the audio is working because I can see a microphone working. It's going out. It's just, I'm just hoping that it's going outside. Let me see. They can't hear anything yet. Okay. Hang on.
So I got to.
Okay, I should be off. All right. Might be the person on here. Yeah.
You ready? Oh, got it.
Yeah. I'm donating this to the city.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna call to order. The August 19th, 2024 City Council Committee meeting. Roll call. Washington.
Here.
Branch.
Here.
Whitty. Here. Stevenson. Here. Trinka. Here. And Bobby is there. Yes, here. Bennett, not here. Farrell here. So that's on the record. I'm hoping I fixed the sound issue. Let me double check one more time. Okay. Moving on. Audience. If you're going to comment from the audience, please come up to the gate so that the owl can pick you up and we can have a record of your statement. I have to apologize. Mr. Train, you'll be first. I have to apologize. Last week and all the confusion getting the meeting started, I did not push the record button. And the meetings are now set up to auto record. Let me double check that that's actually happening. Yeah, it's set up to auto record. So as soon as the system gets turned on, it will be recording. So it may be recording a few minutes before the meeting and when you get the recordings. So, first up, Mr. Tran.
Somebody at home watching it said that they can't hear it. Says you haven't muted.
Wonder where I have it muted.
Fix it, Jordan. I'll wait.
Okay,
I know.
I've got to find out where it's muted, because there's nothing here that shows me I'm muted. The only way it could be muted is over there. We're learning the system. Here, I can do this. Maybe it's unmuted now. It went out. So it must be working now. Okay, moving on. I'm sorry, Mr. Tree.
No problem.
We're recording it at least, even if people can't hear us at home.
Sounds good. I'll try to be brief. I was at the last city council meeting, and my understanding is that the process of closing down Ron Lounge, if there is done, they are closed down. It's ended, which is good. The point I want to make here is at the last hearing that I was at over that, their attorney made a point that the city needed to change their ordinance in order to shut them down properly. And George, you and I had this discussion at some point after that meeting. Your explanation to me was we couldn't do anything until this whole thing was done and settled. It's done and settled. My question or request to the city is do something about changing the ordinance now in case something comes up again, so you don't spend 4 years and thousands of dollars trying to shut down a place that's a nuisance. Am I making sense, George?
Makes sense to me, but we have to, it's really not the ordinance that took the time. The process is outlined by the state in the liquor laws.
I got that. My understanding though was that according to their attorney, and no offense to anybody here, I like their attorney better than I like ours. I think
Right.
he's smart. I think he knows more. And I tend to believe the guy. If he says your ordinance need to be changed, I'd sure look into doing it and try to make it easier on the city down the road. Hopefully we'll never have that problem again. Pray to God we don't, but it's possible. So whatever. One other quick thing, ordinances, you and I had a discussion probably 2 or 3 years ago about the noise ordinance, referring to construction work. And you're gonna amend the existing noise ordinance because the current noise ordinance does not cover construction work. In other words, you can start construction in this town any hour of the day or night and work all night long. It's not covered under those ordinances. We looked into that, Wayne looked into it, you looked into it. It's not covered. All it takes is modifying, amending that ordinance to add construction to what's in there. Pretty simple, I think, but hopefully we'll get more construction. Hopefully. The other thing, while we're talking about construction, just for the heck of it, we live in the Knolls, okay? To me, that's about the best place in town to build a home. They're running out of lots there real quick, that place is gonna be full. The city needs to be actively trying to find a contractor to build decent homes in a decent location in this town, because we're running out of good spots. Spot for planning commission, council, I don't know who, I'll look myself if I could find somebody, but, we need something, because, people got no good place to build, they're not gonna build here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
You sure you state your name?
Yes, my name is Gary Plump. I live at 620 East Third Street. I was here last week and made some complaints. Go ahead and share them again. About 4 months ago, I had a low area on Oak and Third, the corner where I live. Street department bought some clean rock down. It didn't really work. But it did come down last Tuesday, put some hot mix down, did a good job, so, thank you. for that. Now, my street hasn't been oiled and chipped in at least 8 years. My dad's a street up on Shoots. He said they did Shoe Street. They got to the 400 block and ran out. Maybe a couple of years ago, his was about 8 years in the baby. And, I know they're doing a lot of street repairs here in town. And we need some repairs down there. The other thing, about a year ago, I talked to Yolanda about my neighbor. He's got 3 campers in his yard. His grass was 3 feet high last year. He actually bailed, somebody bailed it and got 200 bales on it. He has about 17 to 20 vehicles in his yard. His water and electric is off and on constantly. This is maybe 6 or 7 people living there. It's not a family, just a lot of odd people coming in. I believe Yolanda bought that gentleman down last year. And he said that our laws aren't strict enough, but Fairview Heights had some stuff. And they were looking to strengthen their laws, but that was a year ago. Have we done anything?
We haven't done anything because our hands, Fairview has the advantage of being a home rule city, so they can make, they can do things outside.
Not supposed to answer questions.
What?
Not supposed to answer questions.
All right, George, I'll finish talking. Thank you.
No,
Yeah, I
I'm not supposed to
understand.
answer your question.
Yeah. The other thing is, my complaint about them 3 campers and 17 to 20 vehicles, depending which day of the week it is. It wouldn't happen if it was across town. It would have been dealt with. Now, main thing I'm in for other than that is that, training center they want to put down there. Shoots is a snow route, Third is not, Oak is not. And that's the other street, Third, or is that McAllister? What is that? Okay. It's not even wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass each other coming on. I mean, if you're gonna come down and do anything, I believe that field next to my house, this Hattie Horner Field, I believe the city's in charge of that. Or they lease it or something. Well,
that's the hardest part.
or Horner Park, well, you would have to, there's no sidewalk or anything there. I believe the guy that lives on that road, the only house there, he has 10 acres. He was here last week. He has to bus his kids to school, there's no sidewalks in the area. And he's on the school board, he's a principal at some alternative school or something. I had to put my own sidewalk in out of my pocket, 100 foot. The list just goes on and on, and they're not doing anything down there. They put that nice sewer department in down there, but they didn't fix the road, they tore them up worse. I mean, it just takes a pounding and nobody does nothing. You can walk on it and it falls off. There's potholes in it. I mean, we have decent vehicles down there. We don't want dust either, you know. But nobody's doing anything on that side of town. That's my opinion, you know, speak a fact for me, but my opinion. And I probably could, one more thing about, well, one more thing, George. By springtime, my neighbor, he don't cut his grass. I'm on the golf course and I get a phone call. His 3 acres is on fire. And they stopped at mine because the grass is green. But had my windows been down, I'd had smoke damage all throughout the house. And when I got there, the fire department said it was a controlled burn, which he didn't tell anybody about. He has no running water at that time, so how was it controlled? They didn't issue anybody a ticket. I mean, it would have been a fire across town, I'm sure it would have been out, somebody had been there. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but I'm just speaking the facts, so. Unless somebody else have it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would like to say something.
Speak on.
So, my name is Twyla Lund. Bay Price's daughter down the street. I made sure I came back today because I had heard that something was wrong with the recording. So thank goodness Miss Luann said she recorded last week, so we do have it, you know, with her memo that she did record it, so everything that we said is on recording from Miss Luann, so at least that. But with all due respect, I find it hard to believe that you forgot to push that record button. Simply because when we were sitting in here last Monday, you stated multiple times, people back in the corner, you're talking too loud. Can't you see the owl is having a hard time making sure it's getting everybody? You said that multiple times. You said the owl is going crazy trying to capture everybody on this recording. So I mean, I can't understand how you said that it was recording that day. And now, right after that very next day, all of a sudden you forgot to push the record button. You can't answer questions, but I know, I'm just saying. With all due respect, I find it very hard to believe. So I'm gonna repeat everything that I said last Monday, simply because it wasn't on recording from what you said, but I'm gonna put it right back on there, just like Gary Crump just did. So regarding the fire training station down on McAllister Street, I'm not for it. We are residents down there. My parents live down there. My dad passed, you know that, vaccine and Bay Price, but my mother is still living there. We have family members down on that street. There's plenty of people down on that street. And on the back street, Strat Lane, there's a gentleman down there that lives there, and then right around the corner is Gary Crump and the other neighbors. So those fire engines from all different counties running up and down that street for training, however often the training would be very dangerous for my mother, who's used to living on a country road out there walking. She's 86 years old. She walks, that's her exercise. For Strat Lane, that's a brand new house. It will be, I mean, I know if you're saying that you're gonna put the training facility possibly for 20 to 25 years, what avenue does Gary and the guy on Strat Lane and my parents have with that? For 25 years? For letting them do something like that for 25 years, I personally think it's unacceptable, because you wouldn't want it next to your house. You live right across the street from that, there's no way in the world it would happen. So don't treat us like that down on that end, because we would like a nice neighborhood as well. Even though we're down on the south end, it's very nice down there, nice and relaxing and calm. And there's no crime down there. And we would like to keep our area nice and relaxing and calm. That's what we're used to down there, and it's nice. It might not be what you want to live in, but it's okay for us, because we enjoy it. We enjoy the country road back there. And then also, and I know last time I mentioned this, I said that what happened to their property values will plummet. And the mayor kind of grimaced like, oh, property values, what kind of property values do they have down there? Even though you guys might not think they have a good property value down there, it's what they have. And they don't want it to plummet. And putting that, I know you're looking at your watch, I'm almost finished. Putting that down there for the next 20 to 25 years will make the property value plummet. And so I'm against it. I can't remember everything that I said last week, but I know that was definitely a part of it. And I'm worried about my mother walking up and down the street, her safety. And I'm worried about keeping up the integrity of that part of the town, because it wouldn't happen if it was on your part of the town.
Thank you, Twyla. Anybody else? Anybody else? Alderperson comments?
You know, you mentioned the 20, 25 years, that's what they were proposing. And we did not propose that 20, 25 years.
Okay, thank you.
So that's clarified. The reason I'm making comment is I believe the personnel policy, which we defeated at the last meeting, I think it bears consideration in the future. And I'll check with the pastor and ask him to put it on the agenda, that we have another vote. And if anybody has any comments, I've talked to most of the people on the council, have people who still don't agree with it, which I understand. But I think it does bear being updated in our personnel policy. And I think we do need to consider it. it would have to be done with, modification, because, I know George asked for a number of people to give their thoughts and ideas and corrections, and I'm not sure he had a great deal of response. And, as a result, the policy as it is, and there are things in there that I think also need to be, eliminated, things that they're not bad, but they just don't need to be a part of a personnel policy. So next week, we will be, having a chance to, pass the, personnel policy. I think it's something that we need and for the future. And we don't want to keep going with the policies that we've had in the past. So I appreciate anybody that has any comments, but preferably not here. But let me know either by email or verbally, tell me the things that you would think that possibly should be eliminated so we can move forward and maybe pass the bill, the personal policy at the next meeting. But obviously, there's gonna have to be amendments made to eliminate some of the items that are unfavorable to a lot of people. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that, thank you all for coming, and we are working on all of those things, and I commend you for coming up here because it's been, I want to say a year, I don't even know if it's been a year. But it's like we're working on the same thing, but I believe and I have hope and faith that the ordinance will get passed. We've been working on that one ordinance, but it's about as thin as a, what is it, a one-ply piece of toilet tissue. And we just, the ordinance for the cars and operable vehicles, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, we worked on that with the lawyer. We talked about it and all the things that was gonna go in place to try to push the people to be able to do something. But to be honest with you, I was upset with it because it seemed like they weakened it even more to just let them sit there. So I want to bring that to the table, that we work on that ordinance and get it done properly, the way it needs to be done, to push the people to be able to do what they need to do. And then you just mentioned something about, we are did you say a home rule or non-home rule? Okay, can you explain, because they don't know what that means,
Okay.
and that way they'll know what that
Sure,
means.
municipalities that are home rule municipalities, and that's done by a vote of the people, the residents of them, they have tremendous flexibility on their ordinances. They don't even really have to follow a lot of state statutes. The statutes will usually say it applies to home rule and non-home rule, or home rule only, or only non-home rule. And if it's a one if it applies to only non-home rule, which is what Lebanon is, then we must follow the statutes. And the statutes really do limit what we can do. They really limit it. There's a lot of things we can't do. There's money we can't spend, taxes we can't do, so there's a lot to it.
But on the little minor things that Mr. Crump was referring to when it comes to that non-home rule, like he said, Fairview Heights, Belleville and all that, we fall in the same category.
They're home rule.
Their home rule, okay, so you're saying that,
They have the flexibility to do more.
okay, so then the flexibility that we all put on there, because I think in our ordinance, what is it? Is it $25? I don't know. Because whatever it is, it don't say anything.
It does. It refers to another ordinance. There's another ordinance that outlines the fines. The fines start at $75 a day, up to $750 a day. And that fine amount is established by the court.
Okay, so then let's go back to the point that where vehicles and cars are at homes that are condemned and have orange signs on them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That right there is enough we as a city can't do anything
No,
about that.
because we cannot go onto private property. And that's a Fifth Amendment issue, seizing private property. We cannot go onto private property.
We're not trying to
and
go on
seize it.
private property.
If it's owned by somebody other than the city, then it's private property.
I know that, but George, you all say that in saying trying to tow people cars. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the letters that you send
We
out.
can send the letters all we want. And we could find them and we could try to collect the fines.
Okay,
That's what we've been doing.
Well, I don't know if we're doing that, because every time I come up here and I talk to the inspector, he always tell me that he is working with the chief, and then when I email the chief, then the chief tells me that he's trying to get some stickers or whatever to work with the inspector, so it's making me feel like, and it's been over like 2 or 3 months, that I'm getting the runaround and nobody is doing anything and don't want to answer questions.
I don't know anything either.
Well, I'm just saying, because I have emailed them both and have talked to Blake in person. So I think it's weak and I think we need to reevaluate it. Because like he said, if it was on the other side of town, nobody wants to look at that.
Oh, I've got one right next door to me.
Okay, there go the mayor over there.
Go ahead.
I'd like to say something about the property on Third with the campers and I know the frustration you're going through. Yes, they have an orange paper on their door. The gentleman is in court nonstop. So we're stuck on certain things. And so that one, please know that that's working. That's being worked on, I should say, because of the situation he's in.
Well, can I ask a question? Because at one particular time before he moved in there, nothing was there. And it was a for sale sign in that yard when I was going around getting signatures to get elected. And actually, when I saw a Caucasian couple there, I thought they were getting ready to buy that house. Well, right after, probably I'm gonna say about 2 weeks later, that's when all those cards and things started coming. So my question that I'm asking is he renting that house? Do he own that house? Because that house was for sale. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that for sale sign was out, and 2 weeks later, it was full of campers, cars, you name it.
I believe he owns that.
I think, but let me ask you this here. I follow the St. Clair County website. It's been cited 2 or 3 times. Yeah, $250 or $750, but if you don't have running water or lights, then it get them. You mean they can stay?
They don't use the word condemned when you see the orange sign on the door. It's for houses that are unfit for human habitation.
Well, I know, but they have.
I know.
What can you can't do nothing for?
I
Maybe St.
just,
Clair County can't help, but I mean, I don't know, but it's
No,
not
I-
going anywhere.
right, and I'm trying to get what we can do beyond the not fit. If there is someone in there that, or in a place that says not fit.
With all respect, man, I disagree with you. You're trying, but it's been a year. I mean, are you really trying? You may be doing what you can, but it's not enough. Or you just say you're trying because nothing's changed, it's getting worse.
Okay,
I don't mean
That's fine. I'm just telling you what I know about the thing. It aggravates me also. I mean, I don't like anybody that doesn't follow rules. I get a lot of trouble because I'm a rule follower and I don't like it.
And it's not your fault, but what we're trying to say is it a problem with our ordinances? Or is it or do we need to call St. Clair County? It's something that we can do.
A lot of
Cause
times
this
St.
don't
Clair
just,
County won't do anything if we've got an ordinance on it.
that's what I'm saying, the right kind of order.
Okay, the house that's the White House on the corner, I believe it was Cherry and Third Street.
Yes,
Okay, with all the trash out the back and all that. We went to St. Clair County and we had a good case. And we were gonna take over that property. And they had missed all their tax payments and everything, and so we said, well, okay, we'll just pay, I think it was like $400 and some or something, their back taxes. So let's just go pay the taxes and we'll take it. Try to scrounge the money together to clean it all up and tear the house down, because the house is a mess.
Right.
And he came in at the very last meeting that we had with St. Clair County, and St. Clair County let them pay the back taxes. And we spent almost a year working on that, so I know you guys are frustrated, but we get frustrated too, because we do all this, all the technical work and that, and then it comes out that they just want their $400 in back taxes, so. And it is very frustrating. And I know that personally because I was in on that one.
I have a question. I know last Monday you guys passed a bill about tenants and camping in tents and things like that. Is that something that can be used towards?
That can't be, that is if the landowner complains. You know, or if they're on public property. Since that's not public property, we, again, our hands are tied. We're using up a lot of alderman time, but, that's that's just the way it is. The laws that they're protected by the US Constitution and state laws. And Yolanda, to get things changed that allow us to change things is to go to the state legislators for us, the state senator and state representatives that are in Lebanon, and ask them what they think they can
I'll
do.
ask Christopher Bell.
You know, I
Somebody.
worked with them both, and there's not a lot we can do because
Kevin Smith.
it requires a change of statute. And that's an issue. That takes a lot more to get a change in statute.
And they
Go ahead.
all are running for election.
Are you finished, Yolanda?
Yeah, this Miss Linda talk.
Last week, Penny said that they were finished down on McAllister Street.
I don't know, I guess so. Penny said the water line, the water line is finished.
The water line is finished. They have something else to do down there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cause the residents wanna know, are they gonna, put their yards back the way they were?
Probably, but not, they're not finished yet.
It's gonna be a
project's
while.
gonna take several years to complete it.
Well, two things about that. One is where the water line is actually right away.
Mhm.
It's not their yard as they think it is.
Well, it may not be their yard, but it sure looks bad.
Yeah, but it will be leveled out and, seeded, I believe. But there is a street project coming in right afterwards. That's why we were supposed to be out by, Labor Day with the water line. And that, I think is gonna be talked about, somewhat tonight, the street project.
Okay.
There's a lot of things happening. Any others before I take over and do my bit and go on?
Yeah, George, I was
Go
gonna
ahead,
mention
George.
about the fire training facility down there. We had Donnie Miller from I think it's Fire Protection District or something, come in one night. He gave a proposal of what they wanted to do down there, and so far he hasn't been back, so I don't know if it's a dropped situation or not, but there's been no one come back, you know, to try to pursue it anymore, so you just have to stay tuned, I guess.
Thanks, Cheryl. Yes, we threw the ball in their courts and come back and give us proposal of what you want to pay for, what you think you want to pay for rent and the terms, and we'll see if that's something that can be acceptable to the city. And if there's an objection to the whole project, it probably won't go at all. Who knows? We have not discussed it as a council. There's been no discussion about it as a council. We ask questions, we listen to a presentation.
I appreciate you guys coming and talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
It does help us, because we want to know what you think, because we're here for you, not for us.
That's right,
Well, we appreciate it.
So,
George, I have one more comment.
sure.
I met with the Harner Park people about McAllister Park. And the fact that the police department was concerned about going on the property illegally. I talked to the attorney has made a document up, passed it on, I guess you got one, Sherry. I have a copy and our attorney has a copy. And I'm gonna be talking to the chief tomorrow. We have to then decide whether this document, you know, is sufficient to allow our police department to go on their property without doing something illegally. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that our attorney, their attorney is the one that made the document up, so assuming that they like it. So we'll find out whether, hopefully soon, whether we can go on the property of McAllister Park with our police department, so.
Bobby, you have that? Okay, to answer the question about the recording last week, I failed to push the record button that saved all the video and audio to the computer. The meeting was broadcast. Everything was working, the record button. I was able to solve that problem going forward because now we set the Zoom system to record as soon as it's turned on. So as soon as the meeting's turned on, it will start recording. So if I turn this on at 6:15, it starts recording at 6:15. If I turn it on at 6 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock. The one thing that we ask is that individuals not try to experiment with it, try to get into it before the meeting. Every time somebody attempts to access the meeting, it starts recording. And then it turns it off when they leave. And so we could end up with a bunch of little recordings on the system that are meaningless. They're just somebody sitting there breathing. And so please do not try to experiment by calling in. I'll talk about legal fees later when it's better. And tow company, the uninhabitable spaces. Just so everybody, before I was on the council, just before I came under the council, the city had Deb's Tow Company up the street where the parking lot is. And it took years to get that property torn down, and the city paid to tear it down, which allowed the city to put a lien on the property. And when the city attempted to foreclose on the lien, then they wanted money for it. So the city paid tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees for that to be settled, for that to be taken over. Then they paid $47,000 to tear the building down. I had just gotten on the council when this was settled, so I was gotten all the information. $47,000 to tear it down. And then, in order to get the property, the city had to pay $40,000 to the landowner, because they said the property itself is worth $40,000. And they paid their taxes. Their taxes were always paid. So they said, so we had to buy the land for $40,000. And that was before I was on the council.
Well, George, I mean, you kind of make a good deal. The bad looking deal right here uptown.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
I know, it's a bad looking thing all over. So if we go out and attempt to seize a property, it's gonna cost us tens of thousands of dollars because of the legal fees, if nothing else. There are legal fees. We can't circumvent the law. We can't go around it. The court's not gonna do it. If the landowner says, I think this land is worth $50,000, I'll give you an example. We've been working on building a bike trail, not the city, another group, to the west. And there's one landowner has a piece of property that is underwater 9 months of the year and has zero tax valuation. But because he owns it and he knows that land is $50,000 an acre, that person wants $50,000 for that land. So you can see that's the things that happen with this site. We just cannot go in and say, okay, we're going to declare eminent domain. It doesn't work that way. It's hard to do. It takes time. The city has to be prepared for legal fees. And since it is public domain, you can look it up. The Ron's Lounge issue probably cost the city $100,000 in legal fees. They get them to shut down, to get it closed down and enable the license to go to somebody else. It costs the city a lot of money. I won't say $100,
Thank you.
yeah, it costs us. We just can't do it. It's just not something we can go out and say, oh yeah, we're a city, we can go take the land. No, there are laws that we are bound by and we must follow. It takes time and effort. I appreciate by the way, I really appreciate people coming here because if you don't come, and I appreciate we got the owl, so people at home now, if there were more than 4 people online, if they can hear and see us too and understand what we're.
30 seconds, Joe.
Huh?
Is oil and shipping on the agenda for any more this year? Are we done with it?
No, we're voting on it tonight.
Or put Third Street shoot?
I don't know which streets here. I didn't see the proposal as to which streets. Okay. Moving on. Finance Committee.
Okay.
First, we have on here present and recommend the contract between the city of Lebanon and TWM, which is the engineering company for the East McAllister Street construction observation. So with that being said, I'm just gonna, I had Michelle to give me a little paperwork, and that would be the project that we're working on now, am I right? And then we had 3 bids for Baxmeyer was, 877,000 and a little more, and DMS contracting was 872,000, which was the winning bid because Keller Construction was 1 million and Studs Excavating Company was 9,402. So with that being said, we went with DMS bid of the 872,000. We got a federal fund for 281,000. And we got a grant for 90,000 and some state funds for 74,000, which brings the total to 4,227. And the estimated engineering in that price is 90,000. And the city's part of that is 517,000. And the reason we're saying is because and I thank her for answering all my questions, because I know I probably be getting on her nerves, but I really want to know and understand, because we have the residents talking to us and they want to know why the street is not paved and this and that. So I'm learning as well, that majority of those streets down there does not have the proper water line. Am I correct, Penny? So, because that's what they have put in on McAllister.
It's not that they don't have, excuse me, it's not that they don't have a proper water line.
Yeah,
but the
I'm sorry.
infrastructure is very old.
Yes, okay,
So
thank
we
you.
just don't wanna put a new road,
Yeah.
$800,000 road over a 1940 water line.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's what I meant to say. It doesn't have a newer water line. So with that being said, just those 2 blocks of McAllister that they just put those water lines in and going to, I guess, put a little curving in there and overlay the street or whatever, that's gonna cost the $517,000 just for that. So you would know like a ballpark figure of how much these streets really cost.
That's just the city's part.
And that's just the city's part.
Is that McAllister or Herman Street?
No, that's McAllister where they was over there by the roads and dug up those water lines, because eventually they're gonna be coming in and fixing that whole street all the way down to the water department and the sewer department. Straggling, and I don't know their name, and turn out the 4 and 50, that 4-way stop. So all that in conjunction will be getting done together. So the city too is not trying to go in there and do a whole lot until they see what IDOT is going to do. So we just want to let you know, because after you start looking at 2 blocks costing that much and have to go in there and redo everything, then we really see where we at as a city coming down there and working, but it's gonna get done. We're working on it. So, but we will be doing some oil and chip coming up.
And that includes sidewalks and guttering and
Yes.
stuff like that down on
Yes.
that
2 blocks.
for 2 blocks.
For now, until they come finish that whole street. I think it's that street and Herman Street, right?
There's a grant.
Yeah, for Herman
The
Street.
problem with Herman Street, it's the only street in 1982, I believe, that had curb and gutter. No other street has it, and they already have it. And it seems like you're gonna redo it.
That's the only one we get a grant for, because it's a feeder road.
It's a higher traffic street.
Feed roads on the school.
It's not on the grant list.
And by the way, as a reminder, the audience is supposed to comment unless we ask.
Right, my bad, Joe.
No problem, thank you. Just remind everybody, otherwise our meetings would go on. We've been here almost an hour and we haven't really, we've gotten 2 items out of it. Or 1 item.
Okay, number 2 is discuss replacing the grocery tax with a 1% sales tax. So with that being said, I'm gonna make sure I explain it right. If you all have your phones out and you really wanna know what it is, you can Google it, because I believe it'll be starting in 2026.
January 1st, 2026, the 1% sales tax on groceries and
Yes,
is eliminated. And
but you can adopt it.
I have the whole thing in my head because I've gone through it.
I got it.
But the legislature realized that cities are gonna lose revenue, like, what is it? We were about $85,000 a year on that one,
Around that.
somewhere in that, on that grocery tax. We would lose $85,000. But the legislature gave municipalities the ability to levy a sales tax. In fact, they gave us the ability to levy any sales tax that starts at 1% and increases in quarter-cent value. But they gave us the ability to levy at least that 1 cent grocery tax to start again. We must pass this by, the state has to have it by July to start collecting it in January. So this city council either has to pass it between now and April for this council to do it, or during May and June, if the next council to do it. So, in the ordinance has already been written. IML has written on the sample ordinance. All we have to do is like we did with the camping thing, is adopt the sample ordinance. But we don't have to adopt it tomorrow. We can do that in January.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Do they give any kind of samples in there of what that 1% sales tax on groceries would amount to for the average resident of the
Yeah, if you go into the state and look at theirs, they have a list of a bunch of the cities, and you have to try to find one that has approximately your population, but that's not true because there's, there could be a little town right in the middle of the big city around it, and they're gonna have a higher amount coming in than us.
Or they
So
may,
we kind of ballpark it by looking at the ones that were listed in there, that we probably get around 87,000 around in there.
But how much would that average out for per family or per?
depends upon the population. It's hard to say.
Well, I mean,
Basically, that 1 cent tax is going to be replacing one that's already there. It's not going to be an increase in taxes.
Yeah, they're taking one away,
And we're gonna put
we're
one in.
putting one in, that's why it's so important. I know people, you have your favorite places to shop, but this is where we get any of our money to do work on streets and stuff, from sales tax, from utility tax, from motor fuel tax. That's all comes from the state back to us, and that's the only money we get to get.
Yeah. So if we don't shop in Lebanon, and I'll tell you right now, it's really hard sometimes to shop in Lebanon because we don't have a big variety of places to shop. A lot of places don't have. But the city really hurt while the hardware store was closed down. Now that's revenue starting to come in again. That's gonna help us a little bit. Because there was a discussion about 6 years ago, and this is still my time, so I can still talk. There's a discussion about 6 years ago to buy an insurance policy that would insure and indemnify the city if it was a catastrophic event that we lost, like we would lose the sales tax with tax fund. Well, the city council said, oh, what could happen? We don't need it, we didn't get it. And then, not 2 years later, 3 years later, the True Value burned, had the fire, and we lost all that sales tax revenue. That True Value is a big sales tax generator for this city. And then at the same time, a car dealer moved out of town. that we had. So we lost a couple of revenue streams really fast. So it's important to know those things. So, Yolanda, if you want to, I'll send you that ordinance, and all you gotta do is, we can
Okay.
pass that anytime between
I
now and,
looked at one online through the IMS.
yeah, it's
That's it.
online.
That's it.
Cause it has to be changed, it has to have the Lebanon language put in it. And you can do it, or I can do it, or Mike can do it.
You can do it. And I got one more question. Is that just grocery and no local tax? Cause in that book it said that it can be both. And it does not have to be it has to be passed by the council, and the residents really don't have anything to
Right,
do with it.
there's no referendum involved.
Exactly.
Right now, if we want to increase the sales tax,
You can do it.
we have to do it through a vote of the
Yes.
people. There has to be a referendum to increase sales tax. And this is allowing
That's
cities
fine.
to now increase sales taxes without that referendum. And it's not a wise thing to do, because we are actually not the highest sales tax in the area. At 7.85%. We're not there.
And then number three, we have discussed Ms. Williams put this on her, I ain't put it on there just so y'all know. Condemning of the structures on Perry Street, Third Street, and Cherry Street. And with that being said, we're not gonna stay on this long because we already talked about it and you just discussed it and fees and all that. And I just feel like the tow company, when we all get tired of looking at it, then we'll do something about it, whether it costs city money or not. Put a lien on it, get the people time to pay you back or do whatever, but we as a city need to take care of our
An
city.
important part of this type of process is the fact that it is actually involves some legal affairs, and there is a need to serve the owners of the properties. And if they're aware that all of this is going on, they could avoid service, and it could take us a long time just to serve them. So this is a topic that can only be discussed in a closed session. Voting on it would be public, but at least the whole discussion and all that on the genesis of it will be in a closed session and not open to public ears. It could cost the city dearly for someone to have to keep going back and serving and serving and serving and serving.
I think, the city and attorneys can sit down with the people that own the properties in a private meeting and come up with something. Because that way we don't go through all that other things, and I'm sure you can come to some type of agreement and have it on paper without dragging people through so much.
That's the process that has to be taken. The discussions about that process,
Yes,
including
sir,
what
I
might be out,
understand.
has to be done behind closed doors.
Yes,
It is possible to do that.
I
And
agree.
there will be letters written, and there will be discussions. I just have to, because I've gone through this. You gotta trust the system.
Mhm.
You just gotta trust the system.
So before we put
Okay, you have something, Pat?
street numbers on this, you would do that in. closed
Right,
session.
right. We would put street numbers on that. Because, and the thing is, one of those streets has only 2 structures on it. So, it's hard to do that. That's why we don't like to do it, even the names of the streets in public. Okay, anything from water and sewer?
No, she said no. She said no.
Okay. Okay, anything from personnel? Yes, but no. Health and safety. Okay, going to unfinished business, update on widening the corner of West Randall and Porter Street. We need to amend the ordinance to make West Randall from Alton to Horner Street a 2-way street. It is my understanding that the road work has already been completed. So it's basically asking Mike to write an ordinance that changes that from a 1-way street in that area to a 2-way street. So that,
Says, up to amend an ordinance.
yeah, we have to amend the ordinance. We have to write an ordinance to amend the ordinance.
Because right now the ordinance says it's a one-way street.
Right. The ordinance will say to amend this ordinance.
I guess
So,
there's an
I-
ordinance that has All the one-way streets in town?
That's all the one, yeah.
Yeah,
There's an ordinance that has all the one-way streets. And which aren't many.
just like all the stop signs.
So I will ask Mike to prepare that ordinance. For us, is that okay with everybody?
I think the people are going both ways on it.
Yeah, we're just gonna make it legal for them to get away.
We didn't know. I could never pay.
It was one of these things where it was two-way on one end of it, two-way on the other end of it, and one-way in the middle.
Oh,
So created an issue. Plus fire engines couldn't get in there, buses or big trucks. Item number 2. We are gonna present, we want to recommend the approval of the lowest bid of DMS contracting for oil and chipping of streets as $351,149.10.
That's been great.
If it's correct, it's $351,000.
No, 35,000.
35,140. I'm gonna say that was awfully expensive. We practically paid to do streets. We're top of that stuff. Okay. So it's 35,149. There's one extra one in there.
Yeah.
And the DMS will provide the gravel. Cody's not here to talk about it. I don't know which streets are being chipped.
He does have a list of roads that are gonna be oil and chipped and what that consists of, so,
Well, that's your committee.
yeah, so I'm not sure, I don't have the list,
Okay,
but I
We'll
know
have
he
it.
has a list and it's
So-
out there.
so we cannot present it as a recommendation for next week because we don't have all the information.
I think, well, are we guaranteed that that's it?
No,
No,
but if we don't pass it, then
yeah, well,
you can bring it next week.
It's gonna be next week, but you won't pass it anyway. We just make a recommendation. It has to be, next week is when the action will be taken. So it's just gonna be made as a motion next week.
we'll need to get his final.
I know there was some,
I have a preliminary one, I don't have.
I know there was some discussion over the amount of money that we had to spend for the oil and chip is constant, it didn't change. But the price of oil has been fluctuating, so they've been waiting, so because they don't know exactly how much of oil they're gonna be able to purchase with that money because of the fluctuations.
Right,
It's been quite a large swing here lately, so.
That's an annual issue. We already get the gravel, we can buy the gravel. We just don't know what the oil's gonna cost.
So that's why we don't really have a good list or, because we had to figure out how much oil we can get with that.
35,000.
Well, that's the oil and the gravel.
That's not a lot of money.
No,
Okay, item 3, discuss and or update the progress of the personnel manual. I didn't put this on here because I've got all the information, or a lot of the information. I'll just fill you in on what I have. Number 1 is the personnel manual that you all received that was online. That is the personnel manual the city's been using since 2018. That's the one we've been using since 2018. What it did not have in it was harassment and one other piece that we had to deal with. But the manual that you go out to that link I sent you last week, you will see the manual that is up to date today, and the only changes I've made since last Monday is the information from the street and water sewer department, from the streets department, the water sewer department, and a couple of other minor edits that were period here, period there. That's all. And I'm waiting, and the biggest thing we don't have is we don't have all of the job descriptions, but we don't need them to pass the manual. The manual is as complete as it's going to get. And all that information you were in there complaining about applied airports and all this, that is in the concealed carry statute. And the sentence before all that says, as found in the concealed carry statute. So that is all in there, and that stuff can't be removed. because you have to give them, you have to give the whole statute. You just can't pick and choose the sentences you want. So, that's why I don't understand, that's why you should have it, you'll have the full thing by, soon as I get, the accountant and the administrative assistants, their updates on their job descriptions, they'll have it, but we can pass it without those, because those are in addition to it. They are they are attachments to the policy. The policy is the first part, the attachments we can change later. And like Twyla said last week, it is a living document. Personnel manuals change with the winds of the federal government, state government, and other things that could happen. You know, the Congress could pass a law that says we have to do something with personnel. Guess what? We gotta put it in the manual. The state could pass something like they did the the Wage Act, where we have to provide the leave. Then we would have to change it. That was also changed, by the way, from the first manual, from the 2018 manual. We had to put that in there. And we had to put a statement in there that we passed in December that said, we are following, we have a policy in place that we believe follows the state policy, so we don't have to put the state policy in there. And that statement was in the statute that said, if the municipality had the statement prior to January 1st, then it was allowed. And we discussed all that in quite depth last fall, which is the manual was voted down and shouldn't have. Now, I can't bring the manual back up for a vote again. It has to be somebody who voted no, who makes a motion to bring it up. I can't move to bring it up. It has to be somebody who voted no, has to bring it up as a motion to address it.
Tonight,
No, the motion will be at the meeting next week.
next week, I'll be glad to do
What?
it. I'll be glad to do it.
Then put it on the agenda, and I'll be glad to make the motion to approve it at my part of the meeting, but because it can go over. And by the way, I was asked to do this by the mayor. It wasn't other people, the mayor asked me to do the manual. All right,
And Mr. George, I just want you to understand that we've always felt that the manual is in working order. And like Twyla said, and you said, it's liquid. So we was not knocking down when you say we didn't pass the manual. In my mind, the manual is always in effect, and it should always be in effect because you have working employees. What we were talking about, and I believe, and they can speak on it, we just wanted to make sure that what we was putting in the manual was going to be set in stone, and we know what it was. That's all the little piece that we felt like, let me speak for myself. That's what I felt like I was voting no on, because I just wanted to see it for myself, and that it was going to be in there like worded, like it's supposed to be worded. That's it. For as all the other things, for as the manual, when you say we did not pass the manual, making me feel like we were not passing the manual and we don't have nothing in effect, but we do.
right, we have the old manual, but the old manual is missing at this point some key components that could get us into trouble. That's why it was important to get it passed as quickly as we could, and the manual was complete.
I got them all.
I asked for corrections. I asked for, what do you see in there that you don't like? Please send me, remember, I in emails, I wanted the page number and the verbiage and everything, just so that if you don't get that to me, I don't know what because I'm not a mind reader.
Yes, sir. And then in the email, can you send us all the
The link.
litigations that we need to know? Because we feel like we're in the dark on some things that we feel that we should know when concerning the manual as well. And I think that can be emailed without us responding. So when we do vote on these, 1, 2, 3, 4 little pieces that we're inserting in there, we all have an understanding of what we doing collectively together.
Sure, that's not a problem. See, I was never
And
asked.
that's, well, I'm asking because I wanna know, what are the, cause you mentioned it and that sounded important, litigations and, might be going to court, I don't know, but I think we should know what those litigations are in the email. And then these inserts, these four inserts that we're gonna put in the manual and what page they're gonna be going
Well,
on.
the inserts start, and they're listed in the table of contents.
Okay.
You look at the table of contents, it'll say.
Harassment and things like that.
Yeah, it'll say
Okay.
things like, there's one of the last item in there is the grievance complaint form. There's a grievance complaint form we have in there. There's the firearms policy that's in that section. And the reason why those are additions to it, extensions to the manual, is because those are things that are likely to change from outside forces. Everything else is gonna be us.
Okay.
Gonna be by us, I mean, the city. And when I say we, the council is a we. We, no one of us has the authority or power to do anything without, unless acting as a member of the council. Okay, moving on. Anything else, personnel manuals? Okay, we received the information on Lions Club Candy Day.
Same as last.
Same as last year, they wanted to put it at the
Knights of
intersection
Columbus.
by the police station and down at the four-way down there for now until,
Didn't we vote on that?
no, that was another group.
That was the Knights of Columbus.
Oh,
This is the Lions Club
okay.
Candy Day. They hand out candy. Mints. If you don't, you don't have to
Yeah.
donate, they'll give it to you anyway. So
Do we have some dates for them?
that was in the letter, I don't have it.
Okay.
October something.
It's in October,
11th.
like 11th to 12th. Okay, so is there a recommendation to move that forward?
I think we, yeah, I'll make a record.
Go move it.
Okay, we'll move that forward. Everybody's, there seems to be a consensus. And then McHenry Homecoming and Family 5K Run. Again, we received information on that. I didn't print it out.
Yeah.
But
It's
then,
similar to the previous,
Basically, it's the same as they've done before.
yes, it's basically the same.
Thanks,
Clearing
Roger.
out all of that.
They're just calling it homecoming.
Yeah.
We have
So
something to
yeah, I
Henry
can
here.
speak a little bit to that. So, yeah, so in the
I saw the
spring,
purple.
yes, the purple. In the spring, the class that runs that, we're doing the same route. We're just putting it on as the Alumni Association through homecoming weekend to try to bring more people to campus, through that avenue.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
They always run it very smoothly, so.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes when we're trying to get everybody's attention to start meetings. To say, "Hey, we're ready to start, you know, and everybody's kind of still talking out there, and it's real clear to hear something like that. So I purchased this inexpensive gavel and block for the city. I'll put it in the mayor's station. Whoever's chairing any meeting, can probably just take it and use it. So, is there anything else? For the committees,
I'd like to say a few things.
go right ahead.
What I'd like to try to do is get some information. I'd like to, somehow or other, find out what city properties we have. And if there's any leases or if it's raw ground. You know, I think that's interesting to know what's going on with that. I'd also like to get a copy of the liability insurance. And then business cards, like to get some business cards too, because I think that's important for us. So I think you know, in business, you need a card, to be able to say who you are. Somebody stops you outside or something like that. You need a card, you know, I think so. What else? I'd like to see, if we could hire somebody on a part-time basis to do research, okay? And that's a variety of things, but with everybody else here being, overwhelmed with the present why I think hiring somebody for, oh, let's just say 10, 12 hours a week, I think that would help. I wrote down here crosswalks. I don't know anything about Chippendale or whatever it is, but there's an awful lot of crosswalks that need to be painted white. And I don't know, but it's just kind of like, why not? Paint's pretty cheap, you know? And do we, I just found out too, we do have a disaster recovery plan. And how can I get a copy of that? Okay? And, cause I'd like to look at that, just in case there was a disaster, you know?
What kind?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
whatever, you know?
Tornado.
And then, I was curious as to, when would the, audit, be acceptable to us and we get to read it?
Did we get it?
As soon as we get it.
Well, that's kind of
It'll be
like,
on, it'll
I
be
don't
on
mean
your
to
desk.
be that
Yeah, we
way,
don't
but
have it yet, so.
why don't we call them and say, hey, I'd like to have a tape.
When they get done, they did the audit, and then when they get done with it, they send it to us. It's usually about 6 to 8 weeks after the audit.
Okay, 6 to 8 weeks.
We should have
Then,
it pretty, probably, I don't know.
well, then
They're
maybe
not
we
done
should,
yet, so
maybe we could just call them and say, hey, listen, we'd like to get the thing.
I
When are
talked
we
to
gonna
them
get it?
weekly, and they're still working on it. So,
Okay. And that's really all I had, and, so whoever's in charge, if, you can get with me and we can go over some of these things so that I can kind of start with all of this.
The business cards have.
I have no, there is no, handbook on, what, new older people have. So I'm kind of doing this.
IML has one that you can download.
I got a free one.
They have
Free.
it's free.
Yeah, they do.
Free.
Yeah, it's downloaded, and you have to read it on the computer or your phone, but you can order a book too.
You can order books. You
Okay.
can order that big thick manual, like something.
Well, I'm not gonna do that, but
That's
I
the
I like
expensive.
to find out who can I talk to get.
For the
The
business
clerk.
cards would be Michelle.
Well,
We don't have a budget.
you don't have, there's no,
We what?
this money's not in the budget. You might think of $10, but when we're having to amend the budget and find money for everything, they'll have to go in next year's budget if you want another part-time researcher. We don't have, there's no money in the budget for that.
Oh, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Business cards could go in the budget for some other time, but right now we don't have the funds. If we agreed. Probably a year or so ago, and it was when Charlie and I are probably the only two here.
Yeah.
To buy our own business cards, because I brought that up too.
We did that since I've been here too.
Yeah, you've been
You
here too.
mentioned that one time too, George, was having a kind of ID card, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
City ID. City ID that says you're an older person, because if I walk up to somebody and say, by the way, I'd like to talk to you about this, and I'm your older person. And they say, so how do I know you? And if that's some form of a city ID,
I thought the police have a badge maker.
they have a badge maker, don't make us badges. You know, they probably even have the Lebanon logo on it.
well, yeah, right?
Well, we were talking that, just street department, the water department should have some kind of identification on them of some sort.
They have uniforms.
So anyway,
It's not enough.
I know.
I don't know, do we just do it, or do we, say, let's do it, or that's terrible, or what?
Well, if we're spending money, we have to vote on it. If you wanna just do it, I would suggest if you wanna get your own cards, we need to find out who the city would use to do printing of cards. So
Well,
that
we
it's
pay for it
effective.
ourselves. If we
What?
do it ourselves,
Yeah, you can do it yourself, but you need to have them all
Logo and look the
logo
same.
and everything looking the same.
Branding.
Branding, you have to have it branded. And so we have to have a particular printer we use. We can set it up through Vistaprint and, yeah, just set it up through Vistaprint. And if you can get everybody, there's a way to set up that multiple people can order those things with approval.
Then you just gotta vote on which tree you're gonna use.
Yeah. Okay, so more discussion later. Anything else for the council for consideration?
Wasn't there? Was there something on there about the business district?
No,
No.
Okay.
no. Basically, we're not looking at the business district. We're probably gonna talk about doing another tip.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up something just for your thought or for your knowledge. I had a complaint from somebody on the business district because we're contiguous all the way through, it all connects. And some of the people are, houses. And some of them have gotten charged, a 1% on things that they order online. And they thought that was very unfair I said, well, basically, when you order stuff online, you're supposed to be charged taxes and stuff. And the way the business did, because I asked some people in the business district knowledge, they said, well, basically what they're saying is that if you had bought that in your town, you would have been paying that tax. And so what they're saying is that you bought it online somewhere out of state. Those people out of state have to put it in that there's some kind of tax that they have to pay that goes, and they find out that where they have to send it, and it goes to us.
Goes to the state, comes to us.
Yeah.
That was a big boon with the Metro Ridge Park and Recreation District received almost an additional $1 million because the online sales had to be taxed. And they get their money through a 1 cent sales tax in St. Clair County.
Yeah.
And up in Edwardsville, Madison County. There's a 1 cent sales tax in each of those counties that pays for all the operations and all the grants that the Park District does. And so they got a boom, they got a windfall. They got an extra check for all that 1 cent tax that was being collected now that they hadn't got collected before, because you bought it online, you're gonna pay tax. So I know whenever I buy anything online now, it gets taxed automatically. And if it isn't taxed, then you're supposed to claim it on your income tax, or claim it on when you do your income tax.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's what that was about, and so the person wanted me to bring it up. And that they thought was very unfair, and I tried to explain it to them how it worked, but.
basically, if you live in the business district, you're gonna be charged an additional 1 cent per dollar. And we can't change it because the business district has to be contiguous.
And you say she bought it from out of town online, and then she paid an extra.
Yeah, on her receipt.
I got
it. Has an extra, I think it might even have a business D on it.
Okay, I got you. And that only came up in that system because of her address.
Right,
Gotcha. Even if she's a home.
right.
Gotcha.
And home-based businesses on the business district have to charge that tax too. So
So do you think
it's
we
one of the
should
things.
have
we're gonna
letters
do.
out to let the people know? Because that can be a little surprising if you're not a business, but you're in the business district and you haven't been to no meetings, it's not in the paper, and you don't know nothing about it.
Yeah, and it has been in the paper that we were having these town meetings.
And we have
And
hearings.
we had discussions on it, but I know people don't pay attention to stuff like that.
If
so.
they're a resident.
They also have to pay taxes for the Corner Park District, the Fire Protection District. So it's not just the business district that they're paying those taxes on. It's any taxes that Lebanon charges.
So I have a question with that, because we know the business district, and when we discovered it, that they are allowed, if they need a new roof or need new windows or need something. Those people in those homes can't use that money
Yes,
for
they
that,
can.
can they?
Yes, they can.
Okay, well, maybe you need to let
They,
them.
they can dip into that,
Oh,
they can dip into that tax money
Well,
for
no, they had-
improvements and
If
sidewalks.
they had a crappy sidewalk and
yes, okay.
tree.
Well, it's a win-win.
Yeah,
Right, they have ways that they can tap into that
Well,
money.
they might not know that.
No, I don't think they do, they do now.
they
Well, they
do
do
know.
if they listening.
Well, the person that this came from knows because I explained it to him.
Okay. Well, that's good to know for a resident that doesn't know.
Okay, therefore, there being no further business. Meeting adjourned.
You don't live in a business district. I don't care what.
That's how your head got.